Hi friends, it's your buddy Matt, the Global Ergonomist from AbilityOnDemand.com, your work from anywhere specialist. Buck and I are relaxing on the front porch at the cottage on the Intracoastal Waterway in beautiful downtown Saint Augustine, Florida. We're loving it. It's gorgeous. There's a lot of boats out here on the water. We're watching them go by. And we're talking about the great series that Dr. Andrew Huberman has been delivering. Remember, he is the PhD neurobiologist and ophthalmologist from Stanford Medical School. He has a wonderful podcast called the Huberman Lab Podcast that we rely on heavily for cognitive ergonomics and organizational ergonomics. We're going to be talking about some of that today. The episode in question that concerns us is episode 57, Optimizing Your Workspace. And we talked about lighting in different phases of the day. Now we're going to talk about positioning of the eyes. You see, current neuroscience through the working lens of cognitive and organizational ergonomics gives us more things to think about. What do you do when those thoughts collide with physical ergonomics? You know, visual alertness and focus, using these focal ergonomics and digital ergonomics we've been talking about, has a lot to do with clusters of brainstem neurons that control ocular motor movements, that is, the movements of our eyes and our eyelids, and how we cast our gaze actually affects arousal. There's about 6 muscles that move the eye, and brainstem neurons control them and their movements and activate certain neuromodulators, chemicals that work on brain regions. You know that neurotransmitters work at the synapse in microseconds. Neuromodulators work at the brain region level, and that may take seconds or minutes. And then, of course, hormones work at the whole body level, and that can be minutes to hours. They can be the same substance, and yet when they work at these different levels have differing effects. The neurons that control eye movement below the center line, horizon, release neuromodulators associated with calmness and sleepiness, like serotonin. At the same time, these brainstem neurons controlling this oculomotor function below the midline also suppress alertness. Interesting to know, isn't it? Brainstem neurons that place the eyes in an upward gaze have a corresponding but opposite effect. When the eyes are fixed at the horizon or above the horizontal midline, they trigger brain chemicals corresponding to neuromodulators associated with alertness. So think dopamine and epinephrine. Think healthy levels of cortisol. And all of these are in play. And when you think about some of the applications we were talking about during phases of the day, you start to see a pattern here. This is the fundamental feature of autonomic arousal. A whole lot of the autonomic nervous system is housed in the brainstem. And we take away casting our eyes downward to decelerate or decrease alertness, and casting the eyes upward to increase alertness. But here's where it gets interesting when it interplays with physical ergonomics. This has an adaptive early evolutionary component to it, and where you position your work can affect your alertness, and vice versa. So when we consider the Eisenhower decision matrices we've been talking about all along, remember spatial ergonomics and the 4 choices, temporal ergonomics and those 4 choices, focal ergonomics and the corresponding 4 choices there, and then finally digital ergonomics, which tool to use. It all comes into play when you think about these eye position and alertness factors. Consider that cognitive neuroscience and cognitive ergonomics may sometimes override our old physical ergonomics. Remember, in the day, we used to tell everybody, position your monitor at eye height or 15 degrees below. Well, think about cognitive ergonomics, and there's a time when that's appropriate, but there may be times when it isn't. Consider control rooms. If you've ever been in a control room in a power plant or someplace like that, you'll notice they're all up on the ceiling, not straight up, but about a 45-degree upward, and that may have something to do with keeping the staff on hand alert when watching and monitoring it. So consider some of these considerations as you work with things like sit-to-stand workstations or Movable monitor arms. There may be times when you want your work positioned up above eye level. There are times below eye level, depending on whether you want that sharp analytical work above eye level or more of that abstract creative work below eye level. This is how we apply cognitive ergonomics and organizational ergonomics through the lens of modern neuroscience. And we can't thank Dr. Huberman enough for all of his research and his amazing podcast, sharing it in actionable terms for us. So I hope you find this interesting, and we're going to keep dissecting that particular episode 57. You will see links to it below. And we hope you find this interesting because as a digital nomad, you want to apply your best work at the best place at the right time with the right tool. Hope it makes sense, okay? Don't forget, digital nomads, number 1, do good work. Number 2, be good to others. And number 3, like Buck and I, make sure you go outside and play. It's a beautiful day and it's time to get out there, okay? Until next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.